All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to, I don't know which one is this, Mel? This is our.
I don't know, we don't number them. This is our second annual.
That's good. This is one of our formal ones that we don't number. We usually have the many X number meeting, but.
Second meeting of the
Our
year.
second meeting of the year for the Committee for the Coordination of Police Services to Elderly. And, you know, many of our meetings, as you all know, and I think we are doing this with a lot of our open meetings. This meeting is subject to open meetings due to the fact that we have some policy decisions and it has that statutory obligation. And, you know, we now are moving to this requirement to have in person, and then where you have to be, when you're doing remote, you post where you are doing virtual. So one nice thing is we get to see some of you in person, which is great, but I think it's good we also still have the option for those of you, you know, that have to travel further distances to be able to participate. So we're excited about that. Can everybody hear us okay, who's doing virtual? All right, great, thank you very much. So we're excited to get going. We've got already, I think the chief has already given us some good ideas, and I think we're looking forward to brainstorming with all of you. We have some new members that are coming, so I think what I'd like to first do is maybe I'll do a roll call, and then we can go around and everybody can talk a little bit about, I know some of the new members, I think Molly, you sent them some information about our committee and what we've done and what we've been involved in, and we're looking to working with all of you today to get a better sense of some future projects that we may be able to work around. So I'm gonna do a roll call first so that we're all here, and then maybe we can all go around, especially for the new people, and share who we are and sort of what your role is so they understand what your role is in the office. So, but I think so George, you're here.
I'm first, right? So I'm George Nohai. I'm a colonel, Deputy Superintendent, Employee Relations for the New York State Police. So my job for the State Police is everything employee relations and human resources. So I have the academy, training, hiring, member hiring, non-sworn hiring, EEO, EAP. So that's just some of the duties that I have. I have a lieutenant colonel, staff inspector, major. So it's just, we handle everything personal to everybody in the agency.
And I realized I turned it over to you without officially introducing myself to some of these new people, so sorry about that. So I'm Johanna Sullivan. I'm the Director of the Office of Public Safety here at DCJS. For those of you, obviously, that are here before, you already know me, but for those of you that don't, the Office of Public Safety, I think we have maybe, I'm not sure if those of you from Erie County, the DA's office are as familiar with the AG's office. Andy, if you're familiar as much with what our office does, but our office oversees the training standards. We set policy standards with the MPTC. We oversee the accreditation council and a lot that's involved with that. So we have, probably for the purposes of this, we have a lot of other responsibilities, missing persons, give, gun involved shooting, a whole variety, but we are the staff arm of this committee. And a lot of the work that we do here or coordinate with the team here is to do a lot of training on elder abuse and find out where the needs or resources that law enforcement needs to deal with this issue. So that's me. So I don't know, which way should we go? Go this way, Chief?
Sure. Chief Steve Rotuno with the Town of Cicero Police Department down in Syracuse. Also president of Central Chiefs, which consists of 12 counties throughout central New York, and also a member of the Onondaga County Elder Abuse Committee.
Good morning, Shelley Febick. I'm the Director of the Bureau of Adult Services under the Office of Children and Family Services, and our relationship with this committee is that our office is responsible for the oversight, monitoring, and technical assistance of the provision of adult protective services that every county is mandated to provide.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Stazak. I'm Director of the Bureau of Operations and Electronic Benefit Transfer for the Office of Temporary Assistance. Geez, it's been so long since I've been in one of these meetings. So for those who don't know, the Electronic Benefit Transfer card, that's the method by which people on public assistance and food stamps access their cards, and that's kind of my tie-in to this committee.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Kathy Davidson, Crime Victim Specialist 3 with the Office of Victim Services. Although my title was recently changed to Senior Manager of Albany Investigations and Claims Processing Unit. And I sit in as a representative for our director, Elizabeth Cronin. And in our agency, I oversee what's called our Essential Personal Property Unit. And that's where we see the majority of crimes against the elderly, which are most of them, the high majority of them are the financial crimes. And that's it. Thanks, Kathy.
Good morning, everyone in the room and virtually. My name is Josh Feinhout. I work alongside Johanna and Molly here at DCJS in the Office of Public Safety. I guess one of the many hats that's applicable to this particular committee is that I oversee law enforcement training. So anything that comes out of the committee in regards to training and forming law enforcement, any of the actions that this committee takes will most likely come out through my desk to facilitate that conversation.
Good morning. I'm Molly Bates from the State Division of Criminal Justice, Office of Public Safety. I work for Josh and Johanna, so I'm the one that sort of does all the work for this committee.
Molly's the glue for everything in this committee. Yeah.
So, along with serving as the staff arm to this committee, I also am a program manager in our law enforcement training unit. So I work on a host of different training initiatives. Along with this committee that has to do with elder abuse, we recently updated our basic course for police officers, and we included updated information on elder abuse in that as well. I'll be talking a little bit about another training initiative later on in this meeting that we're working on, as well as working on different model policies for law enforcement in this state.
Thank you. And I'm going to just call people because it's a little awkward. I know sometimes when you're on remote. So Kristen, I wondered if you would introduce yourself to everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Kristen Kane. I work at the Queens County District Attorney's Office. A couple of years ago when DA Katz took office, I became Director of Intergovernmental Affairs and Policy. I got involved on this wonderful committee quite a few years ago. I think I've had a couple of runs here with Johanna, who, by the way, she and I used to work together many moons ago. But I was the chief in my office, chief of the elder fraud unit. And so I got involved in elder abuse cases, 20 years ago at least. And then I became chair of the elder abuse subcommittee for DASNY. And many of you know DASNY is basically the lobbying group for and the state association of all district attorneys in the 62 counties. And we also share. There are some members from the Attorney General's office in the association, as well as obviously special narcotics prosecutors. And so I chaired the subcommittee for elder abuse for a while, and now we're looking for a new chair. And so I think my participation in the group, Joanna, may end with this.
So sad. So sad.
I know. Elder abuse is definitely a passion of mine, those of you that know me, but I think it's time we're going to have a couple of new folks from DASNY. As you know, Candy retired.
I know.
And Julie has been sitting on the committee for a while, so I think we should make her official, but we could talk about that later,
All right, thanks so much, Kristen, and thank you very much for all of. I'm glad you'll be here with us, and we'll look forward to who we're going to be working with next. But you've been a great asset to the committee and a real excellent resource for us. So thank you so much.
Thanks for saying.
All right, Julie.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Joanna. Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie De Leon, and I'm an assistant district attorney here in Bronx County, where we prosecute obviously all kinds of crimes, and the crimes that we primarily see here in the Bronx, unfortunately, are felonious assaults on elderly persons, as well as financial crimes, primarily involving scams. So we prosecute all those types of cases. And thank you for having me on the committee. And it's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. All right, Chief Cataldi? Chief,
Good
can you
morning,
hear us
everyone.
okay?
Yep,
Good
I
morning.
can hear you. Good morning, everyone. Chief David Cataldi from the Brighton Police Department, inner ring suburb to the city of Rochester. Just glad to be here. I apologize for not being in person.
No worries, Chief. You just dropped off the last second there. I don't know if anybody else. You just dropped off the last second.
Oh, I was just saying I apologize for not.
No worries. No worries. Thank you very much. We're glad we have the opportunity to have you be able to participate virtually. So no worries at all. So now I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce our two new members. Please, Andy, if I'm pronouncing, if you wouldn't help me pronounce your last name, I would love to make sure I get it right.
Audula, like awesome.
Like awesome. Well, that's a good way to introduce yourself. That's a good one. I like that.
Background is
Years
not
ago, when I was
my
in
wife.
Manhattan. Angela, like awesome. I love it. Years ago, when I was in the Manhattan DA's office, we had an ADA who was getting married, and she was trying to decide whether or not to take her married name, and she was marrying somebody named Power. And I said, you got to take it. Power for the people. How could you not do that? So awesome Angela is a really good one. I love that. So Andy is taking over for Gary Brown, who many of you know was really extremely helpful to us. In many ways, a great service to us, provided a lot of information and resources, did webinars along with us to help people. So we're really excited. We will miss him, and we appreciate all the service that he gave to us. But Andy, we're happy to have you joining us, and I'll just give you a minute to introduce yourself to everyone.
Pleasure to meet everybody. I am Andy Audula. I have assumed Gary's responsibilities at the Westchester Regional Office of the Attorney General. In terms of the elder abuse work that Gary did, which I know he's infamous for, there's no elder abuse coordinator statewide anymore. That position and title is being distributed amongst several different people, but I will try my best to uphold his great accolades on behalf of the Attorney General's office with this committee. As far as the Westchester Regional Office, we are a microcosm of the Attorney General's office as a whole, so we handle a lot of different types of litigation, but also handle several consumer-related complaints that do come into our office, and the elder abuse, is just rampant, I think, across the state, across the nation, and especially in our region. So we do what we can to try to help people avoid an incident before it occurs, which we've realized that prevention is the best tool that we have. But yeah, looking forward to getting the ball rolling. And again, nice to meet everybody.
Thank you very much, Andy. And then our next new member is Gary, and Gary's Ertel. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Either way, Ertel or Ertel.
Okay. Well, do you have a preference? So we call you by the preferred one?
Ertel.
Ertel, okay, thank you. So Gary is taking over for Candy Vogel. As many of you know, she sat with us for quite some time on this committee, very dedicated to the issue, very dedicated to the cause, and really spent a lot of time helping us out. So we're really going to miss her and all the work that she did, but we're really looking forward to having you on join us, Gary. So thank you very much. So I'll give you a sec to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. My name is Gary Ertel. I'm taking over for Candy Vogel, who retired last Friday. So since Monday, I've been the chief of our office's Special Investigations Unit. I work in Erie County. We primarily oversee long-term investigations, which include various types of financial crimes and scams, which also includes financial exploitation of the elderly complaints. I've been a member of the unit for roughly 14 years, and I'm happy to be here.
Great, thank you so much. So obviously we're in good hands with all the replacements. So thank you very much. Happy to have you both on board. So I think we do have a quorum, right? Okay, and the minutes were sent out to everybody. So I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the minutes from the February 14th, 2022 meeting of this committee. Do I have a motion from someone to accept that? Motion, okay, so I'm gonna go with Dave for our records, and then Shelley, you okay with the second? Okay, great, thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, and any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. I am now gonna turn it over to Molly to talk about some of our training updates.
Sure. So as I mentioned, I am a program manager in our law enforcement training unit. So the focus of a lot of my work has to do with law enforcement training, whether it's basic training and service training, you name it. I've been with the agency over 20 years and I've been in law enforcement training for all of that time. So sort of where my expertise lies. Just by way of review, prior to COVID, we were doing some in-person trainings on elder abuse with a focus on financial exploitation. And we were working with Lifespan of Greater Rochester to present those trainings. We did a morning session that was geared toward patrol, and then an afternoon session that was geared toward investigations or investigators. What we found from that was that most of the folks that attended in the morning attended in the afternoon and vice versa. So there was a lot of repeat information that we didn't really need to do. So with this particular training series that we're going to start presenting next month, we are partnering with Lifespan again to present that. I did provide the training announcement in your folder, and I did send it to the folks that are attending virtually. And we're changing it up a little bit, with the focus not necessarily being solely on financial exploitation. We are working on a number of different topics, including an overview of elder abuse. They're going to do an overview on victim capacity and comprehension, danger assessments. There is going to be, some financial exploitation discussion, understanding power of attorney, which I understand, it is a problem for law enforcement. Not a problem, but it's a challenge just because they think, oh, well, I can't touch it, and that's not necessarily the case. So we are going to be discussing that a little bit. We are going to highlight the EMDTs, which is the enhanced multidisciplinary teams that each county now has. And then the importance of collaborating with APS and including also case studies examples throughout the training. Right now, where this training is scheduled to be a half day. The training announcement did go out last week, and registrations are coming in, and people are interested in answering questions. So I think that that's great. I can send this out to the committee electronically if they want to share with all of your folks as well, because it's not just, while it's geared towards law enforcement, we certainly welcome folks from other disciplines to attend as well, because it is important for everyone to work together and understand. It is going to be co-presented by law enforcement, so we will have, I think Tracy Siebert spoke at some of our council meetings before from Lifespan, so she's going to be doing some instruction, as well as retired investigator Chris Parker from the Genesee County Sheriff's Office. And he actually sat on their EMDT for that county, so I think that that's great, because that'll bring a great perspective, a law enforcement perspective on these committees or on the teams, and the importance of the work that they do, and how everyone can work together. So we're happy to announce this on behalf of this committee. At our next meeting, I can certainly give a rundown of how the training went. We have 3 scheduled to the end of our fiscal year, and we're hoping to do more based on the response, but we have to wait, as those of us in state government know that our fiscal year ends March 31st, so we have to wait for a new budget before we can do more. But we're hoping to do more. So I'm happy to answer any questions anyone might have about the training, or any ideas, moving forward, of other topics that we might want to include. But it's something, we're happy to be out doing training again, and getting to all of our different, communities and topics.
Thanks, Mal. I mean, I know the other ones have been so well received, by the officers.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're able to, be able to do it again. And thanks so much for coordinating that. And obviously, a lot of the stuff that we've discussed in this committee is the EMDTs, the adult protective services, and the coordination there all be addressed with that. So that's really exciting. So
How big are your classes?
So, however, it all depends on the size of room that we reserve. So right now, depending on, in Schenectady, I think we have a classroom that holds about 50. In Binghamton, it's the same. And then in Genesee County, we actually have a large lecture hall that holds 150, and that's just because that's their academy classroom that they use. So we'll take as many people as we can fit. And if we outgrow it, then we can certainly look to other.
Well, if there's a way you can get into the Syracuse area, I can get you from the whole, at least 50, if not more.
Yeah, no, so we can, like I said, after April 1st, these are scheduled now. But once, we have an idea of what our budget is, our training budget is for next year, and approval to spend money, I guess, is more appropriate than, then we can certainly do that.
So Molly, how many hours is this? Because this is ambitious.
So it's
For a half day. Okay.
Yeah, so it's 4 hours. Right now, it's looking like 9 to 1, I think was the preferred hours for the instructors. But depending on the location, we might change it a little bit, just for travel and, weather and all that good stuff. But that's our tentative schedule right now. Obviously, after we do the first one, we'll see if we need to tweak it. But Tracy was pretty confident that 4 hours would be good.
Anybody virtually have any questions or information?
I'll just add a request for something downstate as well once the budgetary concerns and scheduling concerns are addressed.
We can do that.
Absolutely. And if you'd like for investigators that you might have statewide, Andy, we'll send it to you. If you have people you want to send to any of them, obviously they can sign up. And some of them are already, I believe, on our training announcement lists. But if you'd like other people to attend some of these 3, please feel free to share it amongst your investigators.
Yeah, I believe the folks attending virtually, I did send this to them, so feel free to send it along to anyone you feel appropriate or would benefit from it.
Yeah, I echo what Andy said. If we can, once all those issues are sorted out, I would love to have something, a training here for our detective investigators here at BXDA.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, Mom. So do you want to talk about some of the website and
Yeah,
shared
so
initiatives?
today's sort of the Molly show, with regards to the agenda.
I told you she's the glue, right? We already said that, right?
So in past meetings, we've talked a lot about it seems like every agency or every group has like some great initiatives and great projects that they're working on or great information on their websites, but it's still sort of siloed into it's on their website. So what I'd like to propose to this council or this committee is perhaps updating our DCJS website as sort of a central area to put a bunch of this material. I put together a few slides and I did send it to the folks attending virtually just to get an idea of what I'm sort of looking to do, and then I would also welcome, ideas of information that needs to be there. So on the first page, it says DCJS homepage. It should be in your folder too for those of you that are here in person. And that's just our DCJS homepage. So, whether it falls under law enforcement or community resources tab, that's whatever, a decision this committee can certainly make. I kind of thought it falls under community resources, just because our law enforcement tab is more specific to like our training calendar and rules and regulations and that sort of thing, where I thought the community resources was more encompassing of this committee, but that's a decision that we can all make. So, and then on the second slide, that's the drop down of all the different community resources that, are currently, under that tab. So I would envision creating, another tab under community resources and just name it either, the State Committee for the Coordination of Police Services to Elderly Persons, or, law enforcement resources for the, elder crime, or, however we would like to name it, we can certainly do that. But I just thought, if we just name it after our committee, that might be the most clear. And then next, I put a sample of our human trafficking page, just to kind of give you an idea of what the page, of what that page looks like and what some of the other ones do. So I would, envision for our particular page, we would have a heading with the name of the committee, some language describing the committee, some of the projects that we've done, and then sort of linking different initiatives and different projects to that page. Like, for example, a couple years ago, we put together a law enforcement toolkit that's available. that has a bunch of links to different resources. So we could put a link to that toolkit on there, and that way, when it's updated each time, we only have to update it in one spot because it's linked to that. You know, I mean, law enforcement knows that it's available, but if it'll just be more available if it's on our website, instead of, you know, calling or, you know, trying to find memos that were sent out in the past with it. And then with the human trafficking one, you know, they list service providers. So in that particular area, we can, you know, describe our membership and then link to the different websites that are available. Like OCFS has a bunch of great information, you know, link to OVS. We can link to even OPDV with, you know, domestic violence sort of information. And then the State Office for Aging, you know, they have a host of information on the EMDTs, you know, and we have sent out memos in the past, but like I said, I just think it's beneficial, you know, if it's all in one spot, you know, and I know that Greg from OCFS or from SOFA has talked about a bunch of different initiatives that they have on their website, whether it's, you know, Facebook Live type things. If we could just link to that, I think there might be just ease for law enforcement and the community to just see what's being done by way of elder abuse resources and information and that sort of thing. So the last slide that I put together is sort of where like our discussion can lead if we'd like. And that just has to do with what information do we think would be important to include on this website. You know, if there's specific stuff that you think would from your particular agency or your particular group would be great to have on this website, then, you know, we can have that discussion and certainly send it to me because I'll be the one kind of putting this all together and presenting it to ITS for the updates, well, through our PIO, but for our updates.
I think we might have talked about this, and I know Shelley, you and I talked briefly about it, but like an example might be good to have on there is the webinar, you know, we did together with Gary last year,
Yeah.
something like that, right on there. It's a product of this committee, and it kind of covers a lot of different areas.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, and I'm sort of looking for those types of ideas because yes, that webinar is available for viewing now, but once again, like if people don't have the link or don't know about it, then, you know, that limits the number of people that watch it. So we can certainly, you know, we have other online trainings that we work with this committee to put out. One is APS and law enforcement and how, you know, the positive relationship and working together. And then an older one is the, you know, recognizing Alzheimer's, but still very relevant. We still have folks, you know, that do complete it every month. The numbers aren't as great as they used to be, but that's sort of the nature of online training. You know, once it's announced, the numbers go down a little bit. But this could be reinvigorating for a lot of those, just putting them on the website. You know, and once we decide what information we want on there and the design, we can certainly send out a memo, you know, or a training bulletin to law enforcement statewide. We do have our DCJS contact, which is up over 10,000 enrollees now, which is great. And it's not just limited to law enforcement. Really anybody can, we do have civilians that, you know, register to receive our training announcements and stuff. So we can, you know, advertise it that way. And so I'm just kind of looking for, you know, what everyone's thoughts are on this project. You know, should we move forward? You know, is there information that we want to put on there? You know, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. I think would be important to have it be reciprocated, right? So on our webpage, on the OCFS website, that we could have direct links to things that we think are related, and your links can send back to us, right?
Yep.
So no matter whose website you're on, who's related to this, you can access that, and it allows for ease.
Yep.
I think for anybody who's looking, I think it's important for our APS workers to know and understand what messaging we're giving the law enforcement work, so that it's the same language, the same message. And if I run across a guy in Cicero who doesn't really know about this, as the APS worker, I can say, you know, there is this toolkit. You should go and look, right? So there's that messaging that's more consistent.
No, absolutely.
The thing about sharing information too, especially contact information, if you just went to that site, you can click on contact, you know, where all the EMDs are, where all around the state, you know, because honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that information is, I believe, on the state Office of the Aging website, but I think it is beneficial to have it on ours as well, because law enforcement may not think to look on that website, where like they're gonna look through the DCJS website
Right.
to try to find it.
And just like you're
You
saying,
don't know what
Shelley,
you
we
don't
can-
know.
Right, and we
Right.
can do the linking right there. I mean, all we have to say is you can find EMTDs, right,
Right,
available? and
right.
get right
Do a
to
brief
the
description
social.
of them
But
and then
it-
link to that website for, you know, for contact information and stuff like that. Yep.
Because I think we have on our website kind of like an index of all of our partnerships. And I believe, because I can't tell you exactly if I know every single link, they might go directly to the homepage of those partnerships, but I think even more so, again, you have to start to navigate, right?
Mhm.
So if we can get a little more specific on the information that we really, really think is that connectivity point, that we should include those on all of our websites.
Yeah, I think that that's a great idea. I agree with the navigation, because, I mean, in full disclosure, our website is not the easiest, they're not the best to navigate. So if we do have a site specific to this committee, and when we link them to all the different agencies, we can link directly to that website. So they're not like, okay, well, now I'm on the DCJS website, now where do I go? And, you know, so I think that that's certainly beneficial.
You know, Molly, you asked the question, like, what should we call it and label? And I think because our audience is mostly, you know, for law enforcement and training. I don't know, Chief, if you or Chief Cataldi would you think if they saw a name of our organization, what do you think would be something that would draw law enforcement in? Or would it be more on straight out elder abuse information? Or what do you think would be something that would pull them in?
And me personally, I think the elder abuse will get their attention, though, because especially for the smaller agencies, because they don't have the staffing, they would click, okay, I need to go here, elder abuse, click.
Right.
And then they got the information, or at least know where to go for the information. Chief, your input on that?
We're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, Chief Cataldi.
See, that's why I was wrong.
We can't hear you. I wonder, Molly, is there a phone number
I
that
was
he?
gonna say, call in, yeah.
There was, I did provide it.
Okay.
It should
We'll
be
come
further
back
down.
to you, Chief. There is a call-in number, okay? We'll come back to you so that you can do that. All right, thank you.
I think that was the universal sign for thumbs up that he was good with it.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
all right. You like the elder abuse. All right, we got it. And how about for you guys? What do you think?
Oh, I think it's a good idea because you keep it standardized. You get child abuse, sexual abuse, elder abuse, and it's all in that core area.
And is there information on your website that you think would be helpful to like cross-populate with us, with this idea?
Like Molly said, our website's not so I think we have the same,
We do. I think we probably have the same, yes.
I don't want to go there.
Yes.
So does this committee have a good relationship with like the other EMDs, like Onondaga County? If something really goes on in like, you know, Cortland, Onondaga County area, we send it to, you know, our elder abuse committee, and they kind of pick it up from there. Do they have a good relationship with you guys, or? I mean,
It's interesting, like a lot of local multidisciplinary teams, whether it's a DV multidisciplinary team or elder abuse, they're really so locally run that we don't have like a statewide list of all of those. And I don't know if some of them I don't think they get funded necessarily. Like, I try to always think like, where's our state partner that we can make sure we can try to find a list. Oh, did somebody have a?
No, that was me. Can you hear me better on the phone?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you better on the phone. Excellent.
Tell him to turn off his computer now, turn off the.
Oh, but yeah, I think if you
Turn off the audio.
mute here we go, Chief.
Perfect.
All right, sorry about that. Is that better?
Totally.
Yeah.
Much better, yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's all I was going to add was with the website. Anything that links to elder abuse and resources, I think would be very handy for law enforcement. And not to get sidetracked, you've mentioned the multidisciplinary teams in the what did Molly say about like the regional coordinators? Can she or you maybe just touch base and just give a little bit of can you expand on that a little bit?
I'll defer to Mal on that. I think there's two different types of possible multidisciplinary teams we might be talking about. Maybe your traditional multidisciplinary team where a group of different people from all disciplines come together to talk about it, which I think is what you were referencing, Chief, right? Yeah. And then there's this other, which I'll turn over to Mal to talk about the EMDTs, which are a little bit different.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different, and unfortunately, no one from the State Office of Aging is here today because that's sort of their baby and their project. So the enhanced multidisciplinary teams are funded through state funds, and they bring a lot of the similar groups together to work on cases. But I think one of the big enhancements is the fact that they have forensic accountants and specialized people with specialty training to kind of handle the really difficult and complex cases. So what I think we would put on our website is likely a link to all of the EMDTs that are funded from State Office of Aging, just because they are a member of our committee, and it is another state agency. And as Johanna mentioned, we don't know around the state, all the different teams that, some counties put together, and that's great, and I'm sure they do great work, but we just don't know about them.
Right.
And I think the dynamics of those, or the membership of those, if they change as frequent as some of our membership groups and some of the committees we work with, it'd be very difficult to maintain that correct information. Whereas if we just link directly to the State Office of the Aging site where they have that information, they are, theoretically keeping that up to date. So that would be, a resource that is kept up to date for law enforcement.
Yeah, so like those EMDTs we know about because
Right.
they're funded by the state. I think it's a
joint
OVS, it's a
with
joint effort with
OVS,
SOFA and OVS. And so that's a group that we know about, and we keep encouraging. I mean, I know I've said this before, but like way back when I used to be at the AG's office, forensic accountants were like gold. If you could get a forensic accountant on something, it was really helpful. And so it's a huge resource to law enforcement that these are available. And we've done a lot of different announcements on it. But I think, as Mal said, then you got to dig through and find those announcements. So I think having it available there, I'm definitely the idea of how can we better make sure our resources are getting out. I don't know, some of the partners of those MDTs, right? On our end, we can communicate to the partners that are law enforcement, right? And make sure that they are aware through when we do this website of it. And maybe it's a way that we can figure out a cross communication. Because I assume APS, right? They're probably on those MDTs. So while we may not know the list, maybe we have other ways of communicating through the partner members. Just a thought, as us as a whole team, maybe we do an announcement to our various constituents to say these resources are available on this new website, whether it's law enforcement or APS or victim services. Just might be another way on the back end to get the people that are typically partners. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's something, once this is complete and, we're happy with, the final product. I mean, and granted, it's a website, so things can certainly change and we can make updates and things like that. We can draft a memo on behalf of this committee and then ask, we can send it out to our constituents and then have each member, send it out to your communities as well. So at least it's a consistent message going across the state that this is available.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And I'm sure Greg would be of assistance in sharing it with like the partners that they have at the aging, the different aging offices around the state. So are there other ideas of resources that you're all available with, whether something, I don't know, Andy, if at the AG's office you guys have an area where people could report elder abuse or other resources that we could link to? And if you don't, that's totally fine too. I just want to make sure I'm giving that.
We do. There's a Smart Seniors webpage that has a lot of useful information, which I can add to the chat to the extent anybody can see there. But I think a link would be sufficient.
And I know NYPD, they used to, that when they had a lot of information, which we might be able to put a link to their website on this type of stuff too. I don't know, Kathy, and for OVS, do you have anything, it may be too specific, but on elder abuse that you know of that are sort of electronically available for people?
No, I've been sitting here thinking and I can't come up with anything right now. Lifespan is always the first thing that comes to mind. But other than that, I can think about it and let Molly know if I am able to come up with anything else.
Yeah, And I don't know, Dave, if on yours, you know.
I don't think there's anything specific on our website, but again, I'll check and let you know if I
Okay, yeah, great.
see something.
Great.
Joanna?
Yeah,
It's Julie. I think maybe what we can do also is add a link from the Federal Trade Commission. I know that they put out electronic alerts on the latest and newest scams, financial, otherwise, and I know that they do put out scams, specifically with respect to elderly persons. So maybe, and it's a free service, so maybe we can just put that link into the website.
yeah, that's a great idea. I did not know that they did that. That's
They do
really
that.
helpful. And yeah, no, that's really helpful. And I think that'll be really helpful for law enforcement to know. Do they, when they put the scams out, do they do like public awareness community kind of like communicating to, I assume it is, but you know,
Yeah,
what to look for?
Yeah, I'm gonna send one to Molly so she can see what it looks like, and you can
Okay.
subscribe to it, and it's just a free service that they provide, and they're really informative in terms of keeping the public abreast of what the new scams are.
Okay, that's
So I'll send
really
it to
helpful.
Molly.
I think.
Yep, great, thank you.
I think that's really helpful because, you know, it's funny, we hear it, that's really helpful for everybody because we hear it, I think, and we've done it, like Gary's done presentations, we did presentations on this, right? So we hear it from like the law enforcement end, but it'll be really helpful to have a sort of standardized way to communicate out. So thank you for that suggestion. I think that's great.
It's Gary. To piggyback off of that, I think the idea of having links to information about the current scams is a good idea. There used to be, of all things, a series of videos on YouTube that Western Union put out that were 30 to 60 seconds in length that detailed a lot of the scams that specifically targeted the elderly. I know that I used to use those and suggest to my investigators to use those when dealing with a victim because, as we all know, sometimes the victim is reticent to accept the fact that they have in fact been scammed. But they're very easily digestible. They lay it all out in a relatable manner. I'm not entirely positive if they're still up. I know the last time I checked they were, but a link to something like that would probably be helpful as well.
Yeah, that's great. That was really great. All right.
Molly, I'm curious, you mentioned Alzheimer's awareness training for law enforcement, and you said that was kind of antiquated a little bit. Can you talk to me more about that? Because what I want to preface that with is that we're trying to partner with the National Alzheimer's Association. They did a hour, 90-minute video for their version of what they believe APS workers need to know. And we're trying to get that linked on our website. Their preference is that everybody is mandated to take it. And I said, we're not going to mandate somebody else's training.
Right.
You know, we don't have authority to do that. But I think it might be helpful for law enforcement to see that, as opposed to maybe making another one. We could see if that fits the mold for you guys and then share that link. And that would make the Alzheimer's Association very happy, and we could get the message out. So
Yes,
that might be helpful.
Certainly. So our training is it's less than an hour. I want to say maybe like 40 minutes. And it's just, we did work with the state association, the state Alzheimer's Association. Meg Boyce, I think was her name. She was out of Poughkeepsie area, I want to say. But I mean, we're probably going back 6 or 7 years now when we made that training, if not longer. So that's why I'm saying it's antiquated. I think just the video aspect of it is probably antiquated. The information itself, I don't think is. And it just shows different, law enforcement's different interactions with folks that may have Alzheimer's or dementia. You know, they show, an older woman in a backyard, but it's not her backyard, but she thinks it is. So, and how the officer would navigate that. A call from someone whose father went missing, and they see him walking along railroad tracks or near railroad tracks. Just different signs that they would see that would be like, okay, this is someone might have Alzheimer's or dementia. Specifically, there was one with like a shoplifting scenario where, the person didn't realize that they didn't pay and things like that. So just sort of an awareness thing for law enforcement. So I certainly send you the link. You can check it out and just see how it relates with what you're working on, because if that is more, can't find the word I'm looking for, but if it's more, it might be, because sometimes people get caught up on the visual, so it's like, okay, or so, there's an example of a woman that, might be just neglectful of her own needs, for a welfare check, and they see a messy house and, just where they might just need an intervention with someone, not.
And I think it should be helpful just to say, so when we first did some of these online video, we had our training techs who were former law enforcement who were awesome and tried to, do this
Acting out the
themselves.
scenarios.
Yeah, well, no, active pulling it together.
Editing videos.
And we now have
like
a multimedia team. So I think in our mind, the information is not necessarily bad or old or stale, but we have utilized a multimedia team now so that
A little more polished.
it's a little more polished, so I think that's what probably, I'm
Yes,
guessing that's what you're referencing more.
Yes,
You
certainly.
look at our older ones, which they worked very hard and did a really nice job, and you look at our newer ones, it's looks a little bit more,
Those
A little
videos
slicker,
and the
yes.
training were provided by the Alzheimer's Association, so they weren't necessarily our videos. So they might even have updated videos that are more
Right.
relevant than
Yeah.
what we've used. I mean,
I've actually got a call with Erica Salamita tomorrow.
Okay.
And I can mention this
Okay.
to her
Excellent.
and point her your way to say, if she's the connectivity point or not, or if there's somebody else, but that we're trying to, broaden this discussion and not just focus on APS, but in this line of
Right.
work, law enforcement education as well. And is there anything they were updating, or did they think this was appropriate to kind of share that link?
Well, and I think it may be helpful for us to have the vice versa, like you're suggesting, if you're working on this new one, similar to how it might be helpful for APS to know what police are being told about this, it might be helpful for police to know how APS are being trained, so they kind of get an idea of even further. I mean, we do have the other one that we worked on with you guys on what APS and police, how they can work together, and what APS, how they can support the law enforcement and vice versa. But on the specific topic, it might be helpful once we get that to see that too. So, that'd be good. Very good. I don't know, I'm gonna say, let's see if anybody else on the virtual or Kristen or Chief, do you have other thoughts or suggestions? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanna, sometimes it's hard to jump in when you're virtual. So,
I was gonna say NYPD, Johanna, which you did. They have a lot of resources on there. Crime prevention, I think, is the section of their website.
Okay,
Used to be.
excellent.
Do we have anybody on NYPD at this meeting, or are they on the committee? They're still.
They are on the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they are on the committee. Ken Perez is our representative. He unfortunately couldn't attend the meeting. He got transferred this week or yesterday or something. So he said, please let him know if there's any questions or anything they can do to help out, but he just wasn't able to attend today. So I can certainly reach out to him and see where their links are. I know Deputy Inspector Jessica Corey, who was his predecessor, she had a ton of information that she provided to us that I still probably have, in our archives somewhere, but I can certainly reach out to see if they have something more updated, or if they have any concerns with us just providing a link to their website for their information too.
Great.
Yeah, that was
Thank
great.
Thank you.
One thing I'd like to follow up with is from the chief. This is great, the list of stuff we have here is tremendous. The statewide list of local resources by county. What do you think is the best way to go about that, to obtain that information from law enforcement, to determine what are the local resources? Because I'm assuming there could be multidisciplinary teams within the county, but potentially maybe some agencies might not be aware they even exist. Do you think reaching out, surveying law enforcement executives to find out what resources they know or are aware of within the county to compile a list?
Well, we kind of did that, about a year ago, maybe. We blasted it out there, and some counties responded, some didn't. I guess if you guys do end up coming to state chiefs, you push it out there and try to have them go back to their respective municipalities or counties and try to, have them report back to you. And I just think it would be important on your website, if there's this one-stop shopping, if I could go to DCGS, click on community relations and, contact list, and I knew something in Allegheny County, I know who to contact, like 4 clicks.
Right.
It's easy, and I think we gotta get that information out there. So I think if you come to state chiefs and you put the spin on, who you are and what you do, and we need this information, can you bring it back and give it to us? Here's my contact information. Maybe that might be, like I said, in the beginning of the meeting, there's 200 plus chiefs there from around the state. You know, I noticed if the Sheriff's Association isn't involved, maybe that's someone you might want to get involved in this committee too, is someone from the Sheriff's Association to represent them, because, you know, they have, you know, police divisions too, most of them.
We have had them all, right? I think, are we waiting for an appointment from them? I think we have had some, but we don't have the appointment finalized, I believe,
Correct.
yet from them.
Correct.
Yeah, we have had Sheriff Pavaro used to be very actively involved and a real big asset to this team, but I think we're still in the process. Those of you that are involved with appointments and councils, it can take a little while. And so they have been an active member, but I think it's a good call to get them on board. And I think, Josh, it's a really good point. I know, like, I do a lot of work with the DV world and multidisciplinary teams, and we were having somebody present on a DV high-risk team in one jurisdiction, and there were other chiefs in the room who were in that county and said, I didn't know we had a high-risk team. I could go to them and they could do all this stuff and provide all these, and I think it's no matter what multidisciplinary team, it's an area that, like, it would be great to try to figure out a better way to communicate that if we can, you know, provide that connectivity in that role. So, yeah.
Some are clearly stronger numbers.
Well, that's, I think, exactly right. And some wane in participation, you know, things like that. But I think that would be a good avenue for us to try to get that information from the state chiefs. So, thank you.
Johanna, what about the family justice centers?
You know, I know it's a great, and and we can find all of them in there. And you're right, they probably do deal with it. Does yours deal with elder abuse, Kristen? I know it has a primary focus of IP.
Yeah, it's more DV because we happen to have a social work grant for elder abuse, you know, and so they connect our elder victims to services through the grant that we have, but I feel like other counties don't necessarily have those resources, but may have access to a family justice center, or are they not?
No. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. And I guess for our partners that maybe are not as familiar, you know, family justice centers came about through federal funding. And I know, I mean, I can say, I think in the city, I think every borough has one in the city now. Erie's got one, I know, Orange County's got one. And what they are is one-stop shopping for, primarily they came out of the domestic violence world. So a victim could go there and get civil service assistance, civil legal services assistance, get assistance with local DSS, get assistance for food, get all sorts of different types of, so they don't have to continue to go from this center to this center to this center to this center. But it's a really good point. And I know, you know, I'm sure we could find out from OPDV. They probably have a list of the FJCs, Kristen, and maybe we can find out from that list how many of you, I can't imagine, I mean, it is in the context of a family often. I mean, as we know, a large percentage of the elder abuse, unfortunately, does happen in the context of families, as we know, right? So I wonder, that might be a good resource to find, because it is such a one-stop shopping. I mean, they have like facilities, locations, and they have so much information. So we could definitely reach out. I think we could reach out to OPDV and find out do they have information about all the FJCs, because some are federally funded and some aren't federally funded. So they have a different mechanisms upon which they get their background. But you're right, they're really great, and they are a huge resource for people. It's a good idea. Thank you. All right. Well, that's a lot right there. We got a lot already. So, and you know, I know we've talked about this, you know, when we were prepping for this meeting, you know, Molly and I and Josh and I were talking, and we said, we've talked about this idea a little bit. Let's make, you know, we'll work it together. Let's make it happen, yeah. Right? And Molly said, okay, so let's say, yeah, because I think it would be a really great resource for everybody. So if you think of things after this that you think we should make sure that we do or connect up, and I know as we develop it, Mal will be communicating out with all of you on that, and seeing what are the things you think and linkages. You know, think about your own stuff in your own agency, whether it's, you know, even Chiefs Association, if you guys have things on that, Sheriff's Association, they have things. whatever we think we can make sure that we get a one-stop shop for information, a clearinghouse of information. I think that would be really helpful. So thank you so much, Mom. All right, Mom, I'm going to turn it over to you again. It is the Molly Bates show.
It's Molly Bates show today. So I guess the last thing I just wanted to bring up, and this was a discussion we had, as Johanna mentioned, was we were prepping for this meeting. You know, those of you in other state agencies know that every state agency has a number of different councils and task forces and stuff that they sit on. So one of the other ones that is the Human Trafficking Task Force. And recently they went through just their statutory requirements and sort of did a strategic plan of, okay, well, here's, you know, things that we're statutorily required to do. Let's review that and let's, you know, come up with a plan on how to, you know, and do things. And I think this website project is one of those things that we can do with this, you know, with this committee. So Executive Law 844B sort of outlines, you know, the makeup of this committee with membership and some of the things that, you know, the duties and responsibilities. One of them is the study and evaluation of triad programs. Now, statewide, I don't know how many triad programs even exist anymore. So that's something that, you know, would be difficult, I think, for us to do. But then conversely, we do also have, you know, it says we're the establishment of statewide and central clearinghouse for information and education materials. So I think that this website project would certainly, you know, meet that requirement or meet, you know, those duties. The development of innovative community police programs for the elderly. So I think with some of, you know, our training initiatives that we're doing, I think we're able to meet that. And then if there's other programs or other initiatives that come out of this committee, we can do that. Providing assistance to the FPTC in the development and delivery of training to law enforcement, which we do that with our basic course. And that was updated, you know, a couple years ago during our comprehensive review of the BCPO. So with a lot of this stuff, we are meeting those. It's something we can certainly break down at another meeting, you know, individually of how, you know, we're meeting those things. But I just thought it was important for us to, it's obvious, especially now that we have new members, you know, to kind of, you know, revisit this and see, okay, well, here's our requirements. I know that, like I said, with the triad programs, I don't really know how many of those really exist anymore, or if they're even called triad programs anymore.
Mal, can you explain to people what triad programs were? Because someone aspects it might be what the chief is talking about. In some ways, there is a lot of overlap, I think, in the concept.
Yeah, I think triad programs in the past are what we're calling, you know, multidisciplinary teams now. It's bringing together law enforcement, the community, and, you know, prosecution, or the law enforcement community and community members, or, you know, community members, advocacy. So I think that's basically, you know, it's just a different terminology that's used now that was used in the past. But I don't remember, like, when we first started. I wasn't involved in this committee when we were doing them when they were called triad programs. So I'm not 100% sure, you know, if there was funding or anything like that tied to them, which maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. I don't know the history of that to make that determination. So I think that's what it is now, is more of multidisciplinary teams. But to go and have the law amended is just
right. I mean, as many of you who are involved in legislation, to get something like that, I think we could probably infer that it's the same type of resource. So even just stopping with there, Mal, you know, some of the things we just talked about, the study of the multidisciplinary team, what you're talking about. One thing that just came to my mind was, I know, and my background, as some of you know, I have a strong DV background, and when they have multidisciplinary teams, historically, the ones that are more successful have an actual funded coordinator, right? And obviously you know, I don't know, and I don't know if you know this at all, Chief, or Chief on the phone, or anybody else who's on, many of those come from federal funding, whether or not it's from OVW or Office of Victim Services at the federal level. Does anyone know if they fund coordinators, or has anyone ever seen funding of coordinators for an MDT for elder abuse?
They may have in Onondaga County for a while there. There was a couple changes, so I'm not sure if it's still funded or not, but I'm pretty sure a few years ago it was funded, but I could triple check on that.
because it might be the only reason why I say, and it's a little bit, a little bit off. I don't want to go outside of the scope of what this committee does, but we could also check with our funding office, Mom, that if they can find out from them. It might just be, if we're going to talk about MDTs, at least letting people know like who, if they do have that funding available, who they could go to for the feds for that, or when the feds will release certain funds. Because I know historically, that's usually when you have somebody who's actually paid to do the coordination, the success of those programs tends to be higher, historically, so.
And that might be something through SOFA with their program.
Right.
They might provide funding, or I know that through OVS.
So EMDTs are federally funded.
Yeah.
So it's federal funds that go to OVS. OVS has an MOA with NYSOFA.
Yes.
And NYSOFA subcontracts with Lifespan.
Right, that's for the
EMDTs. Right.
But I didn't know, and I don't want to, we certainly don't need to create two levels, so maybe we don't even need to, but just something to look into to see, like the one that the chief was talking about, at different local levels, is there funding available for that? I don't know. And we can certainly, do a survey and maybe announce it at the Chiefs Association to try to get a better sense of what programs are out there, and resources are out there.
I think too, and the chief can agree with me on this, is, I know he's in, state chiefs has zones. I'm central, the chief's in western, but as we gather information, between me and the chief, or we could probably talk maybe after the first of the year, we can push your information out to the other zones. So we can start sharing, and then they can spread it, like I have another meeting, on Dogger, we have a meeting today at 3 o'clock, so I can pump information out. Or Central meets once a month, I can pump information out, so that the chief can do that in Western, I can do it in Central, and then they can do it in the Northeast, and then down, the Long Island area. There's only 8 or 9 zones, I believe, in the state, so if we could push that information out to those zone reps, that might help push some information.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. As I'm sure many of you know, we send things out to all the chiefs, and sometimes we'll work with the Chiefs Association here. But I feel like the more you hear somebody hears it, and they hear it from maybe, oh, this is coming directly from my zone, I think that would be helpful too, very helpful.
Chief, what's your thought on that? I know you're going to be going on the board here next year.
Yeah, so I'm the president of the Monroe County Chiefs Association, and our networks expand well beyond our counties. So I think anytime that you can get that information to us, we just keep sending it out and it replicates. So that's the best way to do it.
I'll give you a call after the first of the year. We can come up with like a quick distribution list. That's really all we need.
That would be great. That would be really helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm almost envisioning like a map of New York State, right, with all the counties, and then you click on the county, and you get a drop down, and you develop the titles of whatever they are. So MDT and EMDT, MDT, Family Resource Center, whatever the qualifiers are, you click it, and it says who the contact is or where it's located, something that identifies how to contact, the main number. In NA, it doesn't exist. So then hey, do you know that you don't have this in your county?
Right. Yeah.
You want to
Maybe
consider
you wanna
it?
do it, yeah.
That would be really cool, right? And for a police officer to go, oh, okay, I'm in Monroe County. I don't know who to contact. I'm on my phone. I'm in my car.
Yeah.
Right. Let me just click now, and now I can make a call.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a perfect student intern we get. I think we have some that we can pull in to do.
Wait, no, I want to do it.
You want to do it? Oh, okay. Well, you volunteered
No,
something, all right.
I
Always when I say it, I feel like on those things, we did that recently with one of our GIVE projects, and there was a student intern that whipped it up in a second, and because of all their experience with these types of things, I think historically, or our crime analysis centers, they do these maps where they all the time, and they kind of can make things helpful for us.
So make me think of it's CIRRUS, right? The critical incident review system, where so if there's like a massive event, you can go in and you can locate all the daycares. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So I was just kind of thinking from that perspective, it's not that pinpoint longitude, latitude, but it's more of a here's what's available in that county.
Right. And I think they have things like that, different but similar with the school safety improvement team, right, guys? I think they have something like that Homeland Security has developed, similarly for school evacuations and things. Sit on that team, so we could maybe find out some more about how they did that and how they developed it. So that would be really helpful. All right. So that's the portion of our statute that talks about studying triad. The clearinghouse of information, I know that, I think you're right, Mal, that the website is definitely, and if there's other ways, I mean, sort of some of what we're talking about here, right, is a way in which to utilize and share information, but we've been brainstorming, but does anybody have any other thoughts as to what we might be able to, continue to that area or ideas? And no pressure. I know we've already kind of spent a lot of time talking about the website, which is really is directly on point with trying to clear information, but okay. And what's the next one now?
So some of the other stuff we're already sort of taking care of. So we have to do an annual report, which we draft every year, and so we've got that covered. And the collection of data, and the data is collected from DV or DIRs that are submitted to our repository. So, so that's stuff we're meeting, and most of the other stuff we're meeting because it's more of working with other agencies and getting more information out, and so we're there with that. I did actually scroll down to the law, and the definition is as a triad program is term that shall mean the triad cooperative model developed by the American Association of Retired Persons, the National Sheriff's Association, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police, which call for participation of a sheriff, chief, and a representative of at least one senior citizens organization within a county, and may include participation by general service coalitions of law enforcement, victim service, and senior citizen advocate organizations. So to me, I don't know if, they still have triad programs in any of those national organizations, but I think the MDTs sort of meet that
kind of
definition.
Yeah.
So I think we're good in that.
And for those you referenced before, Mal, the MPTC support the MPTC.
Correct. Yeah.
So for those that are new, what we've done here with this committee is the basic course for police officers that every police officer has to take. Has a section that's on elder abuse, and this committee helped us review and update that a few years ago. And that was, a way in which this committee helped support with all the different eyes and perspectives on it, making sure that recruit law enforcement officers have that basic information. And obviously some of the training that you're talking about that we're going to be rolling out continues to support that role of that. So are there other things, as Molly said, we kind of just did this with our trafficking group, but are there other things that you all would like to see this committee do other than some of the ideas we've talked about, thoughts you may have? No pressure, just again, we're in the room. Yeah.
I have one. I think I ate my Wheaties today. So Greg and I attempted to do this last year, and we weren't able to pull it off the ground, but it would be really, really cool if we could do it this year. So WEAD, which is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, is June 15th every single year. We thought, and I attempted to do grassroots. Greg's not grassroots, I'm more grassroots, but I thought it would be really interesting if we could have across the state at a point in time, law enforcement, APS, and other parties that we work with, area agencies stop and for like a moment of silence, like across the state on that date, and, have a whole, obviously June, it's easier to do things outside, and with COVID, it would have been, easier. We tried to then lift it up to county execs to say, everybody do an event. Here's a press release documentation so that all local, news stations, and we couldn't, and when state agencies work together, you have to get permission from chamber, right? So that permission held us back. So I'm not sure, maybe if this committee, right, kind of took that on, maybe we could kind of lift it up. And we have the press release kits in Denise from Lifespan was sending it out to all of her contacts. So we were really, really trying to get this moving along. And then kind of outside of us working together, just because that was holding us up. But I mean, I have all that material still ready to go, like how to do a press event, so maybe this committee can kind of like help us orchestrate something for June 15th.
I think that would be great. And honestly, years ago, I was at OPDV when we started the Purple Awareness Campaign. And so, and it was grassroots. I literally called just anybody who had a building or a structure, and said, would you light it purple? And it does kind of start to gather. And I think the thing that's nice about it is a lot of law enforcement got involved and engaged with that. And they, very easy things and sent, pictures and awareness. Our press does stuff with Facebook and things like that to re-support it, but it doesn't, like it's great that you already have done this. So I think that would be a great thing for this committee to do, and easy if we communicate with our constituents well in advance, right? Like we could reach out to the Chiefs Association and say, together, do you want to do a press, start planning this, do a press release, ask all your people to do a moment of silence, wear whatever, I don't remember what the color is.
I think we're blue or purple.
There's always,
Everybody's got a color.
everybody's got a color, and whatever. I mean, but always, and then connecting it up to whatever resources are in. I mean, that's the point of doing these awareness events, right? Letting people know. It would be a way for us to like repopulate. We have all these resources available for law enforcement, or and do a joint event. I think if we started that early, we could definitely do something.
Everybody pays attention to a siren, right?
Everybody does.
Whoop up the sirens at noon or 12:30 that day across the state.
Right. And even if it was if we did it in conjunction, all of us together, you could do it at coordinate at the various offices with the agings, and then have the law enforcement and our different local members, right, come and do a press conference early in advance, and raise awareness. I think that would be really great, really great, and a nice collaborative. When we did it at OPDV, it kind of came out of the DV Advisory Council, which is quite similar to this, as a multidisciplinary group of state and local people that participate in it. And that's just grown. I mean, that's like, there's a ton of people doing stuff all over the state, and then they link back, and it just raises awareness at the local level. So certainly, and I think the Chiefs Association, Sheriff's Association, APS, I think that's great. Yep. And that would be easy and to get, early buy-in. We can maybe figure out the back part, which, we all have to deal with the back end part.
We could probably do things at the county level a lot easier. than
I'm
we do at the
sure,
state level.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
you may. I mean, and if we start now, we should be, by June, we should be in pretty good shape then, or theoretically.
So she says.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So she says.
I said start now, so that we can get ready for June, yeah. That's a great idea. I really think that would be really helpful, and it's great you already have so much of the materials kind of pulled together, because that is, I know we did like toolkits and stuff like that. So it sounds like you've already done that when we were doing the purple awareness stuff that we provided to people, so you don't have to do it from scratch. And
Well, so with that, we, the state of New York got about $20 million from 2 buckets of money from the feds, specifically for APS, so all states across the nation. And we started a public awareness campaign. So we have materials that we joined with 10 other states to do like a national awareness campaign. The materials are ready, got to do the printing contract to push them across the state. And we are doing an awareness campaign on our OCFS Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we actually have a public service announcement that's been recorded. Now, we have to remember that we lift up, we're 18 and older, so it's not just elder abuse, but it still incorporates, that particular part of the population. And we're working with our public information office to have a media contract. So this commercial will be on TV.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And then we're first people to the right numbers to call. So I think what we're trying to do is build up through to WeAd, and then the commercials will be hitting the airways, I think, May through September, October.
Oh, great.
So we've got materials that we can, make sure that people have by WeAd. So it's, we're trying to orchestrate this and lift it up across the state.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great way. And the multidisciplinary aspect of this committee is great to make sure it gets to all of our various constituents and members. I think that's great. I just saw something come up there, Mal. I don't know if you guys can see.
I can't see it.
Somebody typed something in.
Yeah, that
Chief?
was the PDF. The nicety about being here in front of my computer, I can look up what you were talking about with the elder abuse day. There was, looks like 15 pages of promotional stuff that had come up from the 2022 year. So there was a lot of stuff for World Elder Abuse Day that was done this year.
Excellent, excellent. And sometimes people in these various are already doing it. We found that in many ways when we were doing the DV work, people were doing their own, especially if it was their area, so the different elder abuse, things like that. But coordinating amongst each other and sharing it amongst, and then bringing your partners in to stand by you to say this is important to us or whatever, really, I think, kind of coordinating.
Yeah, districts and lifespan are every year. There's lots of, but they're small pocket events, and you're generally hitting the same audience, right? So even if they're individual events, if there's a coordination about it, you want it, that to me is what can get your media attention, right?
Yep.
And, people want the big stories, they want the flash stories. So in order for us to do that, if we can kind of couch it with this is going on across the state. So, your sister agency over here is going to be doing this news story, you might want to do it too.
Well, I'm thinking, Shelley, maybe after this, because you and Greg have already started some of this, maybe we could, try to set up a meeting, and if people are interested in participating in sort of some of the structure, we could set up a meeting, in the near future to start thinking through what you guys have already done and how we could, utilize this team, to bring it to the next level. Molly, if we can maybe get that out. And if any of you are interested in, joining on, something like that we can do as a WebEx or a virtual meeting. We're not, we're just having a meeting to figure out some next steps. I think that would be great. And if we started early, right after the first of the year or something like that, that gives us time to plan and maybe learn from others that have done stuff like this, how we can
Excellent.
raise it up. Yeah, thank you. I think that's great. All right. Anything else from anyone? All right. George, anything from you?
No, that's just my first time here, and I learned a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here with us. All right. Well, I guess if that's it, I think all we have to do is, does anybody want to, first, I just want to say to everybody, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and everybody gets to relax and have some time with family. And looking forward to all of these exciting ideas and initiatives in the new year. I think I officially have to take a motion. Does somebody want a motion to adjourn the meeting? Kathy, anybody want to second it? Chief, thank you very much. All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right. Have a great holiday season, everyone. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy holidays.